Today is the day when we remember those that fell in the Second World War, but it has now grown into an opportunity of remembrance for all those that have died in the wars over the years. To die in battle is one thing, but there are all those other people who are grieved by the loss of someone to the efforts of war. There are many civilians that die. There are those grieving widows and husbands and children who all have to try and make life resemble something worth living again in the absence of the people who they cared about. War only seems to make sense on a political level. To individuals, it's very difficult to make sense of the carnage that ensues during a period of war. Taking a moment to remember those that fell, those that have been affected by war, which ultimately is all of us, seems like the least that we can do. Whether or not this date was chosen to coincide with the other events where the dead are celebrated around this time of year is difficult to say. The date that was chosen for the signing of the armistice at the end of the Second World War, the 11th of the 11th at 11 o'clock, does not seem to be by chance. And there's very interesting things that suggest that this is harking back to a much older festival. There was an Egyptian festival that celebrated or venerated a hell-like state that was connected with the poppy, and the fields of poppies that are now associated with Remembrance Day have a much older association. Sometimes it's difficult to really understand as uninitiated people what the true significance of that date and this timing and these wars are. I personally subscribe to the idea that all wars are bankers' wars. They are ultimately for making money and for control and for power that costs civilians very dearly. There's a particular irony when one thinks of the celebrations that are organised in, for example, the Square Mile of London, which is, of course, the headquarters of the banking world, or at least in this country and, well, for many parts of the world. So today, it feels particularly important that I take a full minute's silence. No matter what the origins of this celebration and this date and this time, all of our lives have been marked by death, by war. My ancestors are different from your ancestors. We all have our own specific line of ancestors. And there were my ancestors, or there were ancestors of mine, who gave their lives or were affected by this war, and war generally. So I'm going to take a full minute's silence now. It's such a short amount of time to give ourselves to remembering something that has left a scar on all humanity and impacts all of us to this day. Really, every day should be a day of remembrance. But anyway, here's to remembering those that fell.